Hi, welcome back. Premier Kathleen Wynne and her Deputy Chief of Staff will be meeting with the police over allegations they offered a bribe to a candidate they asked to step aside in that Sudbury by-election. The Premier's office said they've done nothing wrong. OPP believes, however, two people broke the law. Matthew Lombardi joining me and Faith Goldie. Good to have you both.
Thank you.
So this is the story, the headline that just isn't going away. And now the Premier has to sit down with the OPP, part of the investigation. Comes at a very interesting time because they've just started negotiating with the OPP over a new contract, which this time begs the question, at what point is this not a conflict of interest?
Sure. I mean, I don't think that negotiations happening in the labor sphere in any way impact ongoing investigations that the OPP is conducting. I would never think that in any way that.
Except they did run that little ad during the campaign.
Yeah, that minor little.
I would never think that the OPP's integrity would ever be compromised by any ongoing investigations, and I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that that's the case.
Can I hear a but?
But look, unions within this province we know are political pushers, and we know who they oftentimes side with. And when they are trying to renegotiate a contract, and at the same time investigating the very body, government, that is going to be making very crucial decisions in that contract, tell me at face value how this is not a conflict of interest. And I understand we're supposed to love and respect our provincial police and see them as more ethical. But again, they did run that basically. It
was the OPPP. It was the union ad attacking anybody but Hudak. They didn't say that they're behind the Liberals, but come on, you need only read between the lines.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, at what point, we've got now 3 criminal investigations going on into this party that never seem to go anywhere. At what point do they stick to this party? I mean, at what point does it start to erode this level of trust between the voter base?
I think we need to be clear about what's going on here. I mean, there are, again, unproven allegations. It'll be investigated, and I think everybody wants there to be a transparent answer given. I mean, voters have clearly made their choice, right? The Liberals won the Sudbury by-election by a sizable margin. So
I'd say Olivier won that election. It wasn't the Liberals per se, because the NDP MP that they courted, who actually took the riding, Thibault, won that riding. He was a heavyweight. He was well known in the riding, and I think Sudburyans voted for him less than they did Kathleen Wynne.
And the press release of the ITO came out that day. And
3 hours before
for those who went to the advanced polls, which I think played a huge role in that result, they wouldn't have had that information before.
Well, I mean, I think that the voters who came out on election day represent a much more sizable contingent than anyone who voted in advance polls. So
but clearly not worth it for the Premier to be involved in this. I mean, it doesn't even change the face of the cabinet.
I think the Liberals have been very clear about this. There was nothing offered in exchange for any action.
Did you hear the tapes?
We've all heard the audio tapes, and I think it's clear to all. I think it's clear to all of us that there was no wrongdoing that occurred, and I think it's great that the OPP is going to come out and likely verify that. So, we'll wait for that result. But in the meantime, the voters, again, who all heard the audio tape, they've already decided.
Yeah, I'm with you, Alex. I get totally depressed in thinking the fact that for the 3rd time, the Premier's office is essentially being investigated at the very least on a criminal, not charge, but basis. And the province just keeps on voting for her. I don't know when it'll stick. I imagine, I mean, the ITO was released at like 5 p.m.
Well, they don't have any real choices. I mean, the Conservatives are a disaster. The PCs are a disaster right now, and the NDP are a disaster. What are the other choices?
Yeah, well, not criminal.
I would vote for a squirrel at this point.
Or alleged criminal, I should say. Not people who have, have billions of dollars of boondoggles on their hands. I mean, for me, it just doesn't add up. I understand that there's no great alternative, but there is a better alternative at the very least, even if it's NDP at this point, folks.
Look, I think there's a good reason that voters gave Premier Wynne a majority, and then they gave her another by-election seat, and it's because voters understand that these allegations are all just kind of cooked up. There's nothing's been proven. There's been no criminal charges. These are just cooked up allegations based on politics by the opposition.
It's not the opposition, right? Like Olivier takes his phone calls, right? Because he's a paraplegic, and that's just something that he does. There's not folks out in the street with pitchforks looking to, burn an effigy of Kathleen Wynne.
But we've heard these phone calls.
The allegations when it came up against the Conservatives in the Guelph riding, I mean, Pierre Poutine, I mean, look, someone went to jail for that. And guess what? They should. You can't interfere like this. It's just, I don't care who the party is.
Well,
you can't interfere with the electoral process.
Well, let's be clear.
And for a woman that promised transparency.
Well, the Liberal Party constitution gives the Premier the right to select her candidate. That's not interfering.
Right, she can select a candidate. What she can't do, and what no politician can do, is offer, perks and incentives for other people to get out of the way, if in fact they do want to run.
But again, we've all heard the tapes. This is not something that,
I heard a different tape than you did, because it was pretty clear to me. This is not something that we all have to sit around and think, what does the OPP have? We've heard the tapes. Nothing was offered in exchange for any action. That's you
very clear.
You must have stopped listening, because I heard very, very clearly at around the 15-minute mark, both of the, where the allegation starts, there was something offered. I mean, you make your own choice. Go to YouTube and YouTube it. It's pretty clear.
Yeah, but again, it didn't stick, and the Liberals have the riding, and so they'll likely carry on unless something actually comes from this meeting with the OPP, Pat Sorbara and Wynne. We don't know what's going to happen behind closed doors, but I'm sure there's going to be a bit of a plea. Look, there's no wrongdoing, and they're going to see the facts of the case if they have enough to go forward and actually press charges.
And I highly doubt that's going to be the case. I mean, this is going to be another one of these issues where, the opposition is trying to criminalize the act of politics, and there's nothing criminal that's happened.
Not doing this, right?
No, this is a media. This is where the media has to step in and hold someone to account, because we don't have a viable opposition right now.
And like you said, they sure did stick to the story when it was the Pierre Poutin stuff. I mean, for years,
as they should have.
Awards were won.
As they should have. I don't care.
With this, I mean, maybe there's not enough. We sure have been covering this, but I don't know if Sudbury TV just hasn't had access to the people who are actually calling this for what it is.
No, but Sudbury's a very small community, so for them, a guy like Thibault, who they see at their coffee shop, who they know in the community, they're very high profile, they're voting for a friend. Mm-hmm. They're not really voting for a politician. They look beyond party affiliation and say, oh, there's my friend Glenn, I'm going to vote for you, of course. Mm-hmm. They're not paying attention to this. I have to. You pleased with the Eve Adams situation? I know you're a card-carrying Liberal. I'm putting you on the spot.
Well, I mean, I think for the Harper government, this is the second high-profile cabinet minister and/or parliamentary secretary to jump ship in the last 2 weeks. A second in 2 weeks.
She was pushed.
The momentum is certainly in the Liberals' favor, and it doesn't look good for the Harper Tories. So.
Except for the fact they didn't want her. They told her she couldn't run in any single riding, so have fun.
Well, she was still a parliamentary secretary as of yesterday, so clearly they wanted her and valued her talents and service.
Trudeau believes in recycling, so I guess he got to pick up some scraps.
Oh,
I don't know if that's fair.
Point, Alex.
All right.